Hey everyone, today we're diving into the story of Cain and Abel, the first two sons of Adam and Eve. You might have heard about their tragic tale, but let's break it down and make it a bit more engaging and relatable. So, Cain and Abel were born after Adam and Eve got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Cain was the older brother, a farmer who worked the soil, while Abel, the younger one, took care of the flocks. One day, both brothers decided to make an offering to God. Cain brought some of his crops, and Abel brought the best parts of his firstborn sheep. Now here's where things get a bit tense. God accepted Abel's offering but rejected Cain's. This really upset Cain, and his jealousy started to boil over. You can imagine how frustrating it must have been for him, right? He worked hard on his crops, only to have them turned down. The story goes that God noticed Cain's anger and warned him to be careful, saying something like, "Hey Cain, if you do what's right, things will go well for you. But if you let your anger take over, it's going to lead you down a dark path." Unfortunately, Cain didn't heed this warning. Instead, he invited Abel out to the field, and in a fit of rage, he killed his brother, making him the first murderer in history. When God asked Cain where Abel was, Cain responded with that famous line, "Am I my brother's keeper?" It's like saying, "How should I know? Am I supposed to look after him all the time?" But God knew what happened. He told Cain that Abel's blood was crying out from the ground and cursed him. From then on, Cain was doomed to wander the earth, unable to settle down and farm successfully. Cain, realizing the severity of his punishment, pleaded with God, saying it was too much to bear and that anyone who found him would kill him. But God, showing a bit of mercy, marked Cain to protect him from being killed by others. So, Cain left and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden, where he started a family and built a city named after his son, Enoch. This story is more than just a tale of sibling rivalry, it's also a reflection of ancient conflicts. Some scholars think it mirrors the struggles between nomadic herders and settled farmers. And there are all these intriguing questions about the story, like where did Cain's wife come from? Or why did God reject Cain's offering in the first place? These details make the story rich and complex, sparking debates and interpretations over the centuries. And in Jewish tradition, the story of Cain and Abel is used as a lesson against sibling rivalry. Rabbis taught that Abel, being a shepherd, had an occupation that allowed him more time for reflection and connection with God. They believed Abel was humble before God, while Cain lacked this humility. Cain's punishment, being exiled, is tied to the broader theme of exile from the land of Israel, a punishment for sin often emphasized in the books of the prophets. In Christian teachings, particularly in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus condemns the scribes and Pharisees, predicting the suffering of his followers and mentioning Abel. He says, "Upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah." This highlights the long history of martyrdom among the prophets of Israel. The New Testament book of Hebrews also draws a comparison between the sacrifices of Abel and Jesus, suggesting that both were rooted in faith, a quality Cain apparently lacked. In Islamic tradition, the story of Cain and Abel is used to teach about the gravity of murder and its consequences. The Quran tells the story of Adam's two sons, where both made sacrifices, but only one was accepted. When one brother threatened to kill the other, the latter responded with a profound statement about faith and morality. God only accepts the sacrifice of those who are mindful of him. After the murder, God sent a raven to show Cain how to bury his brother, leading to Cain's remorse. Islamic traditions also suggest that the devil influenced Cain and that the brothers may have fought over whom to marry. Moving to art and literature, the tale of Cain and Abel has inspired countless works. Artists like Titian, Peter Paul Rubens, and William Blake have depicted the story in their paintings. In literature, William Shakespeare's Hamlet draws a parallel between Cain and Abel with the characters Claudius and Hamlet. John Steinbeck's East of Eden reimagines the story with brothers Aaron and Caleb, reflecting the age-old conflict in a new setting between the American Civil War and World War I. This enduring story is often explored in discussions about the origins of religious violence and the concept of blessing rivalry. This idea questions how the descendants of favored and non-favored sons, like Cain and Abel or Isaac and Ishmael, can coexist peacefully. It's a profound look at how ancient narratives continue to shape our understanding of conflict and human relationships.